Good evening and welcome to another time, another Monday here with Reverend Jorge. I'm Reverend Jorge. I'm the Staff Minister here at Creative Living Fellowship, and this is Monday Practice with me. This space is supported by Creative Living Fellowship, and it's an honor for me to be here, and it's as well a delight and to explore different spiritual practices. The idea of this space is to they have two objectives in this space. One is to explore different types of spiritual practice beyond all the traditional ones we know, the prayer, meditation, mantras, or yoga, and so on. It's to find another type of spiritual practice to help us to go deep in a different way that it doesn't need to stop in so many ways and find in a specific space and relax and breathe and go into silence. And sometimes we need something that help us to pass through the what is happening in our daily lives and always being connected and always being in sense of God. As well, we explore the practices, the traditional practices, but also we explored other type of practices that help us to enrich our lives. That's basically an exploration and a learning that I loved so much. And the second objective is to trying to connect the spiritual practice with the theme and topic that we are taking into our hearts every Sunday at Creative Living Fellowship. By the way, we are live and in person right now, and visit our website so you can get all the information that how we can see in person each other next Sunday. So that's the idea to explore spiritual practice, but guided by what Reverend Sherry, or senior minister at Creative Fellowship, develop every Sunday during the month. So we had that topic. So before we move to go deep in the practice of today and find the connection, I just want to invite you, all of you, to go into our website and support us in a financial or in a way that you would love to. We really are very grateful, and hopefully you can help us with that. So, as I said, the spiritual practice is connected with the theme of the month, which is for November is the blessed always, which is says all the connection that find the blessed in our lives. And last Sunday, so yesterday, Reverend Sherry explored the topic of the theme of from strength to strength, which is actually was she was connecting the strength of that we have in our bodies and of life to the strength of God, so that actually everything that we do, every action that we take, every decision that we take, it comes from the inspiration, from the sense of presence and God that we are, versus the idea that we are separated and we are going by ourselves all the time, that and we have to do everything by ourselves alone. So with that idea, this morning I decided to connect all, because the topic is bless away. So I say, well, let's use a spiritual practices that is very traditional in many cultures around the world. That is the storytelling. Through the storytelling, we can learn about our spiritual path, or reflect on where we are and how we're doing, and so that in that way we can through the story relate somehow and move forward in our spiritual path. And at the same time, today we're going to do a complementary practice that is called your contemplation style. So because it relates us to find that strength that connects us, that comes from God. So, and sometimes we hear many times, goes within in, trying to find your connection with God, trying to do. But sometimes all of us, we are in this beautiful diverse universe of God's expression, that's from the stars, from the sun, from the ocean, and from every one of us. That there is no one equal to another in appearance, but we are one with God. But we have a different way to experience and to express God's Himself in this world. So it's always nice to find ways that we really help us. That is in our natural way to return to God. So that's what we're going to do this time here, and so that is, and my computer was telling me that my battery is already full. So yay! So let's jump it right now in the story. So we can go into the story and then into the practice, and that will be called a day. And hopefully you're like, oh, by the way, um, if you're looking at watching us live, thank you for participating. I see the numbers coming in and the people showing up. But if you're also watching us afterwards and streaming on YouTube and Facebook as well, welcome, and thank you for stop by and expand your tools of spiritual practice. At the same time, because we have this ability to stream and do, you can stream it anytime, anywhere. Many of these practices you can use it. You go into a website and use it and listen it again. In particular, not being this long introduction, but the practice itself, so you can actually have a way to repeat it and to know it and to embody in your life. That's what I'm saying right now. Okay, before we jump into the story, let's take a deep breath. Another deep breath. And we can breathe all the time. So that's the basic spiritual practice of all breathing. So breathing, we open ourselves. We breathe in, we allow God's take form to express as us, as every one of us. So here is the story. It's called The Quest. A man in a town no far away from here one day decide that he wants to find the house of God, God's house. So he packed all his things, sell the rest of what he had, the house, his dog. He said goodbye to his wife and kids, and moved to take a trip around the world looking for the house of God. So he went to north, he went to south, he went to east, he went to west. He visited places beautiful like Petra in the Lebanon. He went to Ushuaia in Argentina. He went to the as a Greenland in the north, almost in the North Pole. He visited the North Pole as well. He went to Washington. He went to Oklahoma. He went to Hawaii. He all navigate the Pacific and moved into Japan and into Siberia. Then went into know into the Mongolians, and always was looking for the house of God. Everywhere they went to lives of God. So he went to Asia, then he went to India. He thought in India may find the house of God. So he visited all the temples in India, all the cities and temples, and nothing. He cannot find the house of God. After certain time and running around the world looking for the house of God, he back again into his normal town, his town where he was half a life before he started the quest. So by returning his quest, he visited his family and visited his friend, and resting in and taking a drink in a bar in the next corner, close to his old house. He was looking at the plaza. He was looking at the church, and a friend of his recognized him and say, "Hey, how are you? What are you doing over there?" So he told the story that he's been in a quest looking for the house of God everywhere. He went to the mountains, he went to the Everest, he went to the down into the south, he went to Africa, he went to the east, the Middle East, he went to the west, he went everywhere, including Kentucky. So so his friend said, "But that's silly. The house of God is in this town." This friend, he cannot believe it. He say, "What? I've been around all the world, north, south, east, west, in every direction, looking for the house of God. And it's here in the same town where I was born, where I always live. He cannot believe it. So I told his friend where it is. He said, it's very simple. It's passing that mountain and going down onto the beach and the lake. And there's you can see a little house, and that's the house of God. Very simple, very beautiful, in a very peaceful place. So he cannot believe it. Take a nice sip into his drink and put it down, say back to his friend, and run into that little path that they take it into the mountain. That he climbed the mountain very, very fast, very moving, very excited, excited, excited. And he got to the top and it saw down into the valley. Yes, there was that little house close to the beach and close to the lake with a beautiful, peaceful area. So he cannot believe it. So he going down, he go running, running down, 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 down. He almost fell and rolled around a little and stand up and continue going down, 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 down. And then we arrive close to that little house. Very simple, very beautiful, very peaceful. And take a deep breath. So slowly start walking toward the house. And it was started had a feeling in his house, in his heart while he's going getting closer, closer, closer to the house of God. So he arrived to the steps that getting close to the doors of God, of the house of God. So he took the first step and he felt crunch a little in his spirit. And then got the next step, and he was a little more fearful. And then the third one, and his fear was driving. And he arrived to the alcove, the hall, and the door was closed. He looked, trying to look at the window, and there was nobody there. So he said, "What is going on?" So he thought he was ready to knock the door when a thought came to me, and he said, "What if God is there? What if happen is to open the door? What are you going to say? Hi, and then what? What happened if I see the face of God? What happened if I don't have words? What happened if I'm not ready? What happened if I'm not worth it?" So he tried to knock, but his fear to really find God in his house was among it was bigger than his desire. So he dropped the hand, removed his shoes, and slow, without turning back, was moving backwards, every step, step. He arrived to the soil, put the shoes back, and turned around and ran in the other direction. He find his friend again in the plaza, and he said, "Did you find God?" Did he respond to the window? And he said, "No." He took his bag again, he took everything and ran out of the town. And he swore again that he will continue find the house of God, but he will never return to his town. And that's the story of the quest. Very powerful, right? So that's what we do in our lives. Take a deep breath of that. The house of God is always in the town where you are, here in your heart. Nothing to look outside, like Reverend Sherry would say, in your strength, in your sensation, in your nature. But we sometimes we are so afraid to really, really find the presence of God that we find many reasons, many ways to don't return to the town. We were just looking for the next book, the next therapy, the next prayer way, the next prayer to wait, the next meditation, the next self-help book, the next YouTube video. Instead of looking for that would allow us to return to the presence, to the house of God, and knock the door. So that's the idea with this. I want you to take a moment when I'm preparing with the music, and we continue with the second practice that complement this story. That we're going to find that way that we can knock the door of God without fears, in a way that is natural for every one of us, to find that strength that God give us, that we are in that strength, so that we can actually move forward. So that we can find the way that we can embrace practices in a natural way for us so that we don't find excuses to not knock the door in God's house. That is ourselves, our spirit. So take a deep breath and reflect in the music through the music with the story. The story is not to give you guilt, to promote any emotional or sensation that I'm so bad. No, this is an invitation to really find a way, tune with you, so that way that you are not fearful and you can knock the doors God, so that you can go deep and have a tea or maybe a soda or maybe a beer with God in your natural way, in your own unique way. So the second practice is called Your Contemplation Style by Donald Atman. So this is a spiritual practice because include journal, include asking and find it yourself, inquiring yourself the way. So that way we can actually find that it eh, make us more connected. So because always we find that find God within you, God within you, and we think it's meditation, but many people's meditation sometimes doesn't work. The silence is most disturbing for them. So there are many other ways to find God, and that's what we're going to find at this time. So that is knocking the door at God's house. So so for now, if you have a sheet of paper or use your phone, use and use two columns. In the first column is the hobbies or the activities that produce you pleasure. And in the second one is the second column is the way that the personal way you learn or the style you learn. That means is sometimes where people who would learn is just by looking at, others by listening, others by touch, others by copying and repeating, others by just having movement, others by doing it. Many ways. And the hobbies is all the activities that we like to do. So now I want you to write in the column that the hobbies and activities that you enjoy. Not necessarily you have to do it every day. Not necessarily you have to belong to a club to do the hobby. Not necessarily you have to do it in a regular basis. It's something that you enjoy to do. Like take a stop and look at the sunset. Like take a walk or enjoy a hot bath or bike riding. That's me. Doing crosswords or writing in a journal or reading. That's me too. Singing. That's not me. Or listening to music. Talking with others. Taking time for look at in internet. Googling just for Googling. Singing or listening more music. Talking with others. Gathering. Playing sports. Doing yoga. Going to parties. And so, what activities do you like? It could be activities that you probably enjoyed when you were in high school. Doesn't matter. Write it. There is no judge. This is just all about you. Or is something in your mind come to an activity that you would like to practice, like you would like to hike? Well, write that. This is not, remember, this is not about the activities, if you're able to do it or not, or if you haven't done for it yet. This is a, it will help us to identify what type of spiritual practice, what type of contemplation allow us to go deep into the presence of God. That is the wall. That's the way that we're going to knock the door. So if you need more time and you are looking at this afterwards, you're going to stop the video at this moment and continue writing your list. But because we only have 30 minutes here, I'm going to continue with the next step. So we continue with the second column, which is the style or strength, the way you learn. This will going to help you to correlate more activities as well, more practices. So these strengths or these styles of learning are basically in divided in these categories. So like a language, sight, hearing, movement, natural world, relationship, or personal insight or spirituality. So where in what these styles you learn? You can have more than one. It's not necessary. For example, language. I love to listen audiobooks. That's a way that I learn a lot. Sight, of course. Hearing is the same thing for me. Sight sometimes is for me. I need to doodle and sometimes inside of the books so I can remember what I learned and what was important for me. Movement, like dance, like moving around, like learning do the ceramic is something that it isn't magical. The natural world is by just looking around you, not just the nature, but also the human creativity. Visiting a museum, things like that. Relationships, not necessarily with your husband or wife or partner or lovers, but also include with your pets, with your little furry friends, with it being the zoo, or the relationship with your friends, with your family, your cousins, your grandmother, or with the people that you help, that you support, or volunteering, many ways that you can learn from them through that relationship. And the personal insights. So you learn with through the message of Sunday service, through participating in this space, by to go deep into long meditations, by practicing another practice like Lectio Divina or mudras, or just by listening a YouTube video. Many ways to learn. So now let's go to correlate the two columns. If you are language oriented, so like, and you like the activities like reading, writing, or keeping a journal, or speaking, or doing storytelling, or listen to stories, these two are connected. So that's why the way you move oriented. If you are site oriented, like me in many cases, like visiting museums, and you like visiting museums or looking at sunsets, or took pictures, or painting, or drilling, or looking at the stars, or bird watching. That is, or you like to the colors, or you got into colors. That's another way to connect both of your ideas. If you like to hearing, so you are very sensitive to sound, so you like to listen music, or going to concerts, or dancing, or singing, or humming, or playing an instrument, or just to hear the sound of the ocean, or the birds, or the sound of the whales, or the sound of the wind in the leaves. That's another way to connect with the spirit. So activities like that, it will help you to return to God. If your style is movement, so like walking, practicing a sport, doing yoga, hiking, painting, sculpting, all of that, playing with your dog or your cat, it's the movement that brings you that connection with God. That's the way you connect with God. With the natural world, like I said, it could be just doing activity with animals, visiting a zoo, or just be walking around the the park close to your home, or just around that quiet street down your neighborhood, or just be in your patio, admiring the clouds. That's another way that we return to God within us. If you are relationship oriented, so you can also relate with your activities that you like volunteering, like going to the book study or book clubs, or going to or support the church activities, or going to a party, or support other activities, come volunteering in a museum where you can be with people around that, because that connects you with that union with God through the other. And the personal anxiety spirituality is what we're doing here right now. But if you really like to meditate, well, look for long videos on YouTube to meditate. Enjoy to learn another types of meditation, or other types of yoga, or take a class in mantras, or something like that that expand that. So when we connect with all that, you see that we can find many ways to enhance our spiritual practice to return to ourselves. They are not necessarily the typical ones that we just can knock the door of God, in the house of God, to connect with Him through very simple. I'm going to give you an example to all finish here. Is that you are in the car driving on the freeway, something crossed on you. So instead of just going to the emotional, into the angry and the fear, you just can do is take a deep breath and play the music that you like, and concentrate and focus on that, and give it attention all the music, because you are a music person, you are a hearing person, and you start connect with that, and allow it through your respiration, and you will see connected with God, and the situation fade away. And if you are in the same situation, but you are a person who like movement, so start move your body, and start to play music, and start to almost dancing when you're doing there, or start moving your fingers, or one while you're driving, one of your hands start to move in your hands, or touch your chest and doing this. So you are always find a way to look for God and to connect with God. And there's many ways that we can go within, through helping through our bodies, to helping through our habits, through the things that we love, that make us to connect with ourselves. So that's the way we can find the contemplation style, is that it works with us, and you can be creative from that, to find all the spiritual practice that allow you to return to that presence. And you have now a tool that allow you know what it works first for you, to be to back into that place with yourself. So this is all for today for me. And if you like the music, it's called The Little Things from Adrian Berger. It was composed last year. So it's one of my favorites one, and it's beautiful. And thank you today for being with me here in Monday Practice. I'm very, very grateful that all of you are connected. Hopefully, this is helping you to find that way to always have a way to return to God, to remove that sense of separation and always go within. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you next Monday here at Creative Living Fellowship and Monday Practice. Thank you.